just increased the damage of my Blood Lance by 800%, going from measly 1 million crits to 8 million and above. That in the background, Uber Lilith getting completely obliterated. My fastest so far is 80 seconds to just get her wiped off the planet. Now, which 2 items did we get that changed everything? And how does the Blood Lance build work in general that we can pump out so much essence without ever running out of essence? But first, the gameplay loop so you understand the build, that the items make actually more sense to you, how they fit into this. Our main source of damage is Blood Lance, but before we shoot a single one out, we actually bone prison our opponents to have them not get close to us. And then we yeet in Blood Lances like crazy, while we also curse to reduce our cooldowns. If anyone comes even remotely close to you, you blood wave out to triple push them back, which makes 9 blood orbs. These 9 blood orbs get consumed by your Gorkquill aspect to make even more Blood Lance coming from everywhere. Every 6 Blood Lance overpower, every 20 seconds you get a bonus overpower, every 12 seconds you get a bonus overpower, unless you consume blood orbs, which then reduce your overpower counter even more. And yes, consuming these blood orbs also fortifies you. Doing overpowers gives you bonus attack speed, have a lucky hit chance to even more attack speed. And there is a debate between playing Corpse Tendrils or Blood Mist in this one. Against Uber Lilith, I did play Blood Mist because it's kind of needed. Against normal mobs, I tend to play Corpse Tendrils to pull them together, but you can't stun Lilith, and we don't need the Tendrils for bonus vulnerable because we have the opponent completely vulnerable with our vampiric powers. Last but not least, if you ever run out of essence, you hold right click really quickly. With the bonus attack speed you kind of gain, your hemorrhage soaks you full up, and then you keep blasting. Skill tree can be found in the link in the description below. Now, how do we go from 1 to 8 million suddenly? Also considering that the build is not even min-max because the glyph I'm using is level 1. First, keep in mind this build also works without these items, just that it goes absolutely bonkers with. Step 1, we finally get the Blood Moon Breaches. Gives you maximum life, damage reduction by enemies affected by curse, more curse skills, and also 2 ranks to amplify damage passive, so you do even more damage multiplicative against cursed enemies. Now the best part though is, enemies affected by at least one of your curses, that's vampiric curse when you dash through them, or you decrepify, take 70% increased overpower damage from you. And that's 70% multiplicative increased overpower damage. I have 3,500 overpower bonus, and then 70% on top of that damage. Now that's already a fantastic boost, but not enough. Now we're having the Banished Lord's Talisman in play. Those pants can be had by Duriel. For Duriel again, do Hell Tides for Living Steel Chest, kill Gregor, and also Varshan for the Mucus Slick Act. Now the second item, also from Duriel, is the Banished Lord's Talisman. It gives you critical strike, overpower damage, fine, resource generation, and 2 ranks to all core skills, which is super cool because that hires your damage multiplicative even more because more base damage, more overpower. Now, after you spend 300 of your primary resource, which sounds like a lot, but you also saw how I'm just flying through my essence and regaining it. Your next core skill is guaranteed to overpower, but that's not the important part. Your critical strikes that overpower. So every critical strike that overpowers deals 120% increased damage. So you don't have to even look at that 300 primary resource. You just have to do critical strikes that overpower, which you kind of do the whole time. Now there's a third item that's technically unnecessary, but if we're already going for max damage, it makes sense. And that is the Godslayer Crown, which also gives us maximum life. That's super good. A 20% bonus damage in total, cooldown reduction, but when you stun, freeze, or immobilize an elite enemy, or damage a boss, it pulls in nearby enemies, okay, and you deal 42% increased damage to them for 3 seconds. That can only occur every 12 seconds, but it still means that when we're doing a critical strike, 120% increased, when they're cursed, 70% multiplicative increase. Oh, and yes, if we hit them in the right moment, that 42% just basically comes on top. Now, in order to guarantee all our overpowers and everything the whole time, and that we also get the 300 primary resource through and what's so on, we have the Gorkquill aspect to eat up Blood Lances, and also maximum life, overpower damage, physical damage on our ring. What would be good here is also critical strike chance or critical strike damage. On the second ring, we have while healthy, blood orbs grant you essence as you consume them, so we have more essence so we can boost on more damage. And here's also overpower damage. Damage to close doesn't hurt. I mean, shadow damage over time you done 1, maximum life, and again, rather have physical damage or crit chance crit damage. Then on the one, we're running that for each % of life that we overheal, which we continuously do, we also do more overpower damage stacking again, which then goes with all the multipliers really nice hand in hand. Here we want to have overpower damage, critical strike damage, all stats or intelligence, and full damage to slow doesn't hurt, but I guess rather vulnerable damage would be fitting here. And then on the offhand, we have one that we can discuss about. Whenever your blood skills overpower, you gain bonus attack speed, which allows you to just eat out damage like crazy. Okay, this is good. Crit chance, intelligence, all stats, fantastic. Lucky hit wouldn't hurt. But technically, we could also take the aspect of the grasping veins, because that would give us up to 40% bonus critical strike damage to enemies damaged by corpse tendrils. That's 40% multiplicative. That would be kind of interesting to then boost your crits even further. That being said, your crits are already incredible and high enough, and you just killed Uber Lilith in a couple of seconds. You don't need it. So I'd rather hit out way more hits than harder hits, because if I can do 2 or 3 hits in the time where I do one little bit harder hit, that is conditional, especially that attack speed boost goes hand in hand really nicely with the Ravenous vampiric power. Lucky hit up to a 20% chance to increase your attack speed by 40% of your total movement speed, and that would be another 50%. Now it doesn't say here if it's additive or multiplicative on top, but it essentially allows you to just hit even faster like a maniac. Now, as you might notice, I don't have the ring anymore that reduces the ultimate cooldown. That's a bit of a bummer, but that's like Banished Lord Talisman stealing me essentially a slot. So I'd rather sacrifice this bonus overpower attack speed to move the Gore Quilt over to my offhand, and then we could play the cooldown reduction aspect again. Then I would actually go for Grasping Veins. On the gloves, we're running bonus blood waves for the maximum amount of blood orbs, and here you obviously want to have crit chance is good, overpower damage, ranks to Blood Lance, 100% needed, Dex, intelligence works well. The boots is Flicker Stab for ultimate skill damage, so your blood wave does even more damage. Damage reduction from close is nice, movement speed is good, all stats. You definitely want boots with movement speed here. And then each enemy you evade through reduces cooldowns, and that works super good against Lilith or general everything, because you dash through things, you reduce your cooldown tremendously, you make them vulnerable, and then you could blood mist out in any way, and then you can dash through again if you feel like it, and then bloodlust everyone. Right now, I'm not even running corpse tendrils most of the time, because this makes the build a wee bit more agile, and against Lilith, we didn't need corpse tendrils. For the chest is the Blood Artisan's Cuirass, which gives us a very nice boost in life. Also damage for 4 seconds after picking up a Blood Orb. Amazing. Blood Orbs heal us in general more, which then also triggers our super over untimely death power even more. But the main thing is that when we pick up 6 Blood Orbs, and we already make 9 with the Blood Wave, but we also make Blood Orbs in general in between and also with Hemorrhage, we cast a Bone Spirit. And the Bone Spirit deals, based on the percentage of our life, a lot of damage. That Bone Spirit can, if I'm not mistaken, also overpower with one of the overpowers we're having. It can crit, it can do everything, but most importantly, it will also refill our essence by another 30 essence, and another 30 essence means another 3 Blood Lance casts. So we essentially, by just existing, by just doing what we do, get 3 free more Blood Lance casts in between as soon as we pick up 6 Blood Orbs, which then allows us to make even more Blood Orbs, which gives us more overpowers, which gives us the gigantic chance to crit more. It just makes perfect sense. Now you'll say, Pony, that's 5 freaking uniques. Yes, it's also the super ultra endgame build, meant to obliterate any challenge that is left to you. And they can all be target farmed. Rather easy. Now with the Book of the Dead, we have the Skeleton Warriors sacrificed for more elemental resistance, but we could also go for more critical strike chance. That wouldn't hurt. The Scaling Mages go out for the bonus overpower, and the Golem goes out for the multiplicative crit damage increase. Looking at the Paragon board, we prioritize intelligence, dexterity, but willpower also does higher our overpower and their healing received, so it's quite nice to have. We here have the Blood Drinker glyph for the fortify as we pick up orbs. Going into the Send of Death board together with the Imbiber glyph for damage while healthy. Pick up the crit notes on the side, obviously. And we're flying up into the Bloodbath board for the guaranteed increased overpower damage. And here we have currently the Essence glyph in for the 22% increased damage to enemies that are not healthy. For the critical strikes, dealing 22% multiplicative more damage to enemies that are not healthy. You notice this glyph is level 1 currently, so we're missing out on a lot of damage. Which brings us into the Blood Begets board for more multiplicative increased damage, picking up Blood Orbs. Also the Overpower glyph with the maximum amount of willpower that is actually able to get. I don't think there's a single willpower note left. And then finally, we're going into the bone graft board, and here we have the tenacity glyph where we're missing a little bit of willpower for even more life. That's fine because I cut off some willpower nodes. On the Paragon board in the description below, you'll see this min-maxed out on level 100, but we also do have another glyph here, which would be control for the bonus multiplicative damage against stunned and slowed enemies, which will probably go back into this slot so that the essence can go up here because it's way easier to pick up the dexterity nodes on the top. Ladies and gentlemen, if this does not have you playing Blood Lance, I don't know what will convince you. You're now rather interested in Blood Surge or Tempest Necro, which we also finally get the item to 400% increase the damage. Videos following soon.